Let's get started. So before we get going, this is Simon with ToughTrader.com. Quick legal disclaimer. Past performance is not indicative of future results, right? Hold on one second here. Let me see something. Someone is sending me a message. And now I have lost my chat. There it is. I might. That's fine. I will check it out real quick. Thanks, Dan. So past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. You can lose a lot of money trading futures. Please, please, please have a trade plan, right? Have a risk management plan and be able to manage both of those, right? Losing money should not really be an option here. You will have losing trades, but you should be pretty much on a consistent upward curve in your equity month over month, not necessarily day over day, but month over month. And losses should be considered part of the trade plan. You will lose money trading futures. If you're not, you're either cheating or something's incredibly going very, very wrong, right? So the reason why I say that is a loss should just be considered part of the normal process. Okay, let's get going on to Globex high, Globex low. Someone sent me a message about value area low and value area high on ES. Let's see, heads up. I have value area high. I see what I did. Okay, so this is value area low. Exactly. So you're exactly right. I didn't move it just as from the prior day. That was also value area high right up there. Thank you. Let me save that. Please make the adjustment. Okay, changing the format just a little bit outside of popping in Globex high and low. Globex low on NQ came in at 66.79. Okay, there's Globex low on NQ. On ES, we have $27.52.25. Not even going to bother with the dashed lines. Just going to go pop this in. 27.42.75. Okay. So I tweeted a couple of the pieces out this morning to members what we're looking for. So let's just jump over. I'm going to give you the critical levels, and you can write them down besides the white zone. So let's go over here. Let me grab the TPO. How many of these do I have opened up, and how many of these do I need to make adjustments on? There we go. TPO. Balance here to the, there we are. Okay, everyone can see this, correct? Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, erase all lines. Yes. Okay, before I get started, something important. See, yesterday, my biggest concern is with, okay, that is normally the support area. You want to see it hold in, right? So this is Russell. It's the best example of what I'm concerned about, so I want to highlight it right away, right? So see how we opened up in the first 30 minutes and we drove lower, right? See how we closed back into value and we stopped one timing to the downside when we closed into value. So I want to show you this. Huge open drive lower, first 30 minutes, right? That wiped out, not everyone, right? Because the first two white zones worked, but the third white zone certainly got wiped out. And see how normally the points of control are pretty close to one another. And in this case, they were somewhat spread out. So this goes, again, to the guys I coach one-on-one. And when I'm saying I have a concern. So see when they're tight like this, when they're right next to each other, that's great. You bring the interest of both the TPO profile and the volume profile members all together and they gang up their buying power, and it tends to work really nicely. When you start to spread that out significantly, you can run into rotations down. And in this case, this is an example of a failure of the neighborhood helping us out, right? Usually we expect these guys to come in. It was nice, tight, packed neighborhood. I would normally expect help. If you go through this process, we stop one timing to the downside right here, right? So a couple of things. This is a huge rotation down in the first 30 minutes, right? And if you look at that, there's a couple things I get concerned about here as a trading coach. Number one, that you get bearish and you go, oh my gosh, that's a change in character, and then you start trying to short all day long. I have a feeling this year, and certainly in the current environment, we are going to see a ton of V-shape moves. So what do you want to see in that environment? 3 characteristics. You want to get stop one timing to the downside on a half hour or a 15-minute time frame, right? You would preferably, from this point right here, get a 50-60 back. You did not, but you'd want to stop shorting when you stop one timing on the half-hour time frame and expect a change in character. And B, a nasty open does not preclude a strong close. Those are the lessons, so I'm going to repeat them again. We can have a nasty first half hour. The rotation down does not mean that we are going to fall apart in the market. It simply means that we might, right? What are the clues after that? Stop one timing on a half hour and 15-minute time frame, right? And do not assume we are going to fall into the hole, right? And this is tricky, right? Because you want to get bearish when you see something like this. Don't do it. Not until you see a definitive daytime and maybe even multi-day break. Every dip's going to get bought in this environment. It's just a question of where, and the 30-minute and 15-minute time frames will let us know. Okay, so that being said, let's go to the critical levels on ES, and then I'm going to go into more detail because I know there's some people that want to drop off and get ready for the trading day according to their own trading plan. Okay, we have a double distribution here, right? First note, this distribution right here should act as support. It's not as strong as this support, but you should find responsive buyers. You must get below 27.41 1/4, which right now would be a 10-point rotation down. You must get below and hold below in order to make any exam of the key levels below. The obvious key levels below is this area right here. Why am I not? I see. This level right here. Right? This is a volume point of control, TPO point of control, and you have a pretty strong neighborhood through here, right? A lot of people put money into, actually, if you look, this is a B-shaped profile, right? You normally would associate this with long liquidation. This profile just came at the top, right? So 2 things. Number one, if this hits in the first half hour, watch out for it getting sliced through. Secondly, if this gets sliced through, meaning 27.3375, your refund trade, so I like to draw this, right? We open up, we get a nasty open drive lower, right? You expect a response here. Maybe it stutter steps a little bit and then flushes, right? We flush. Expect a first backside test to give you a continuation lower. And that rule, this pattern applies to each of these levels below. Our maximum stretch where we would expect responses from prior day's close, this is 27.46. 27.16 is 30 points down. It's hard to believe we would get here. So this would make this area right in here probably our highest odds location for this trade. There's 3 areas of interest in that area. Specifically, there's the closing print. There is not a Dalton gap fill. It's already been filled over here on this particular day. So you have the volume point of control, the TPO point of control. You have single prints right in front of it, right? And then you have the actual gap fill right behind. It makes this entire area starting from right here, approximately 27.27 down to 27.23 as a prime location for finding responsive buyers and getting a big swing back to the upside to either test 27.41, 27.33, or like the Russell did yesterday, just reversing and closing back up at the high. I'd be very cautious after an extension down of thinking we were going to roll and close at the lows. I would banish all bearish thoughts, right, outside of scalps to the downside. And I certainly would banish any bearish thoughts unless we can get below 27.41 to 27.46. Yes, one day we will open and sweep all of this, but we're in an exceptional market. It would behoove you not to be bearish right now, right, and to be very, very technical in where you're entering your trades or let them go, and being willing to be more aggressive on your scales, right? instead of determining that you found a top. I've had several emails from people out there that have just gotten crushed. I have a buddy who took a large loss. He shorted 2 days ago thinking we found a top in ES, and he is still short, and he's actually quite concerned at this point. He has a sizable stop. I would have figured he was actually up 5 points on the trade at that point. And this is what this market does to you is you think, oh, I have great short location. I'm up 5 points on the trade, and certainly it's going to roll for 20 or 30. That's the danger of the market, because then it comes back against you, and it can very easily throw you off your mental game plan, right? We don't have really good shorts until we can get below this area. You should write that down. You might get lucky and get below, but you've got to get below here and consolidate underneath in order to get extensions lower, and then you're going to find responsive buyers in this neighborhood, period, end of sentence. That's how it works. No other questions. The next test, by the way, as tweeted, you have to be able, for a change of character of this market, to at least trade below 27.3675. You do not have to close below it, but you have to trade below it in order to change the one timing. On to NQ, right? Anyone who has any questions, fire them away. I'll come back at them if you have them. But I want to cover this so I can get off and let the other people who want to jump off and get to their trade plan for pre-market, they can do that. So NQ, the other one I want to cover. Okay, here we go. We are one timing to the upside. There's no question about it. We're all the way up here at 67.05. Okay, NQ is a little different. It can get a big, long liquidation. So 67.05. Oops, did not mean to do that, and that is not the chart I want. Where did NQ go? $67.05, $66.05. That is the potential range for the day, although I don't expect a 100-point down day, but that is the expected potential range. That puts us right in the top of this neighborhood, and it makes this, just past it, this area down here, your highest odds of getting a fantastic swing out of that location. Make sure your head is clear if and when we get down here. A couple of areas of interest. Number one, we obviously have to get back into in order to go down. We have to be able to make it back underneath 66.90. This was a poor high yesterday. It made sense that it got broken. If we consolidate above here for 45 minutes, expect a push out because we've gotten it every single day. You have to get below 66.90. You have to get below the volume point of control and the TPO point of control. That's right here. That's where the white zone is essentially, right? And if we get under that, then you have to get underneath and hold underneath 66.75. I am not concerned about a big rotation down unless we get underneath and hold underneath 66.75. This is a very doable test area. It's only 30 points from where we're testing, 25 points from where we're testing right now, right? The next areas that are important, I'm going to lay them out right here. This area right here, 66.52 to 66.49. If this gets blown up, it becomes resistance, okay? There's an anomaly right between 66.38 down to 66.29. Important area, potential reversal area. Again, you're starting to get into pretty big stretches from where we're at. You're talking about 75 points at this point, right? Beyond this point, right, this becomes the next main area, 65.97. How do you prevent getting run over? You're looking about getting above your last best seller or your last best buyer, right? And that method has been working very effectively for us. If we don't get below 66.90 and we consolidate above here, I'm going to be looking primarily for longs, right? Or on big extensions up, I'm going to be looking for shorts, right? Just like we did yesterday. Our short location was fantastic in NQ, and I'll be looking for that again today. I'm looking for the markets to be gelling with one another. I expect the market internals to be working. The last piece I have is just because market internals open weak does not mean we can't have an up day. You can see once we cross that 1500 line, which was right here, right? You can see you just should have given up on the short side. It just wasn't going to roll over. Internals were improving all the way through this point, right? And you can see just every dip got responsive buying, both in NQ and ES from that point forward, right? But you can see when we started weak, they did try to press down. You can also see once we got above the first 5-minute high, right? We got above, we backside tested, and we continued higher, right? Ron pointed that out. Those are all the elements. There's no other, we don't have a two-way market. We really have a one-way market. So there's not much point in talking about if we get a large rotation down, I'm going to have to see it first. Okay, so that's the end of the critical areas for this morning, right? Does anyone have any questions over that in the room? Is that clear? Is that clear where I'm looking for support and responsive buying and how I'm looking for my entries? I'm looking to get above my last best buyer, test back in. I'm looking to stop one timing on the 30-minute time frame, right? Looking to stop one timing and then test back against that on a 50-60 retrace for swinging it. And then I'm looking to get above my last seller for on a 5-minute for smaller scalp locations and or entries into swings, depending on where we're at through the course of the day. I'm looking for a change in character, but that change in character is going to actually have to involve me seeing the end of day and actually seeing weakness come in. In these type of markets, we tend to have one-day wonders to the downside, and then the market recovers and pushes back up. I showed that yesterday. That continues. We had 2 trades. One filled yesterday. One did not fill, right? One was worth, NQ was worth 5 points to the short side. The other one would have been worth 10 points. I'll cover that right now. These were our short locations yesterday on NQ. 9:45. Let's go to a 5-minute chart. This right here. We were short. Okay, so Sierra charts had a little bit different profile than Sierra charts had a little bit different profile than ES did. So this was the first short. It actually filled right up here. We shorted against this level right here. And so on Sierra, we closed the 5-minute bar earlier. Don't ask me why it worked out that way, but at any rate, we shorted against this last best buyer. This is the 5 points we covered. You then had a choice as to whether to take all your money off the table, leave your stop at swing high, bring your stop to break even. That goes down as a profitable trade in my book. It was a profitable trade. And it's worth noting we were not below VWAP, right? And we couldn't even get to VWAP, and they pushed again. The next location for a short was at 68.77, right? That is right here, 68. I think it was 68.8675 specifically, which was right here. You'll see that I would have taken that trade. It just took too much time lapsed between the time that I identified the trade and the trade filled. As you can see, from 86.75, we rolled down to 77.75. It was almost 10 points. That was a good trade. Again, you'll notice we could not get underneath VWAP, and we could not get back underneath the first 5-minute high. Those are all markers that we should be working against through the course of the day, and that I'll be working at again. So let's go look at the overnight and see what's going on. By the way, Mike sent me an email, and he called me out, and he was very correct. He said, why did I not get long on the backside test of this bar right here? This comes down to a matter of personal opinion. I thought the proper stop needed to be, I thought the proper stop here needed to be against the low of the day on this. Excuse me, it wasn't this close. It was, I stand corrected because we didn't close above this last. Oh, yeah, we did. We closed above the last best seller. I thought the trade needed to allow for a stop below the swing low, which meant my entry would have been roughly 67.71. My stop would have been roughly 65.58, right? So that would have been 71, 61, 13 points. I wasn't willing to lose 13 points because I haven't put up a big trade yet this year, right? This trade, obviously, from 67.71 was worth a potential to 66.90. I just didn't take it. I could have taken it a second time here on the backside test of this bar right here, and I should have read this and just gone covered it all because it was a backside test into my last best seller. Again, my stop would have had to been 66.58. I wasn't willing to take the stop. Both trades worked. It's hard for me to continue buying when we've gone up 5 or 6 days in a row. I don't feel that pressure to I don't feel like taking a 13-point stop when I haven't put a 13-point trade down yet this year. So that's that. I need more cushion. That's what I'll strive for before I start trading. I'm all right with letting the first half hour go again. So that's the end of the rush through of where the critical areas are. Okay. We know that we've got to get inside prior day's high. We know that we've got to get underneath our last best seller. We know that we've got to get below the value area. And we know that we have a big, nasty down day coming somewhere in the nebulous future. You do not have to beat yourself up to catch that trade. Okay. That trade will come to us naturally. Any trend day down, we're pretty good at recognizing that pretty quickly, right? It's one step at a time. All we need is 2 or 3 good trades, right? Even in a straight up market, we found decent shorts that paid us, right? And I'm confident that we will find decent longs. I do psychologically want a rotation down at this point after 6 or 7 days down. If we go on a 20 or 30-day rip, I'm going to struggle on the long side. I'm working on it. That's all there is to it. I'm bound and determined not to dig a hole. It's a long year, and I don't feel any pressure. I do feel pressure. Let's correct that. I do feel pressure to find a long side trade. I don't feel any pressure to break my process or to take risks I'm not comfortable with from a loss standpoint before trading. That's all I'm going to. That's how I'm going to list that out, right? Econ. Let's jump over really quick so everyone knows. We have 9 a.m. Jolt's job opening. That's about it. There's nothing else that's really very interesting on the day. That usually argues for balance. I don't know if that matters in this market, but that's what's on tap. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else I need to cover. Overnight. So I'll get my charts organized here real quick. Okay, here's the NASDAQ overnight. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay. VWAP 66.94 overnight. You can see we came right down to it about 5:45, right? The purple line is the VWAP. We need to get underneath VWAP to even start having a downside day. It's another measure that you can have. 24 hours at 66.94, right? That's the first test. And again, I already listed out that 66.80 was the other area we needed to get underneath. If you look from a 30-minute perspective of how that might look. Okay, you can see here's our sellers. We got above our last sellers. We have to get that 66.89 to 66.87. That pitches just underneath VWAP, and that will let you start working on these lower areas. You can see from yesterday's afternoon, we could not get a close. This is a 30-minute chart, right? You could not get a close underneath 66.81. That's why that 66.81 is the bull bear line. We got to get underneath it. That extends from all of yesterday afternoon. It's really 66.81 to 66.78. We've got to get underneath that to make any push to the downside. It's poorly auctioned underneath, right? If you look at this from a volume profile standpoint, right, you can see the volume point of control is right there at 66.87. You have a huge chunk of volume that's built up there from yesterday, pretty lightly auctioned over here. Low volume nodes underneath. They'll probably get counter rotations in here from the overnight process. And then finally, we have to get underneath yesterday's low. That describes it pretty nicely, right? And you can see we're just going to have to push underneath that to translate that back into a 5-minute, what that looks like. I'll switch it back over. I always play with it back and forth so I can put both pictures in my mind of what it looks like. And you can see we have to get underneath this level. We have to get underneath 66.81, right? And we have to get underneath VWAP before we have any kind of reasonable short. And you have to get above Globex high. This will be a backside test up here at 67.04 into your last best seller. You obviously don't want a new high. Buyers are in control. The problem is there's just no short location. I would expect between 66.94 and 66.90 area right in here that we find an attempt at responsive buying back up. And then certainly 66.81, my guess is they try to save it and push it back up, that would be a rotation down from 67.01 all the way back to 66.81. That's a 20-point rotation down. Unless they're just going to flush it, my guess is that's what we're going to find as responsive buyers. Hold on one second here. I want to make sure I have my thumbs up. I don't. There we go. Just a second. That's interesting. And it looks like we're open. So same thing on ES. I'll pop this ES chart really quick. Really? Oh, that's over here. Okay, let's try this one more time. There we go. It was nice TradeStation to work this morning, certainly. So let's jump over really quick to see how we're looking on internals, so on and so forth. Why don't I? Oh, I know what the problem is. Okay, there we go. There's ES. ES is obviously attempting to push. NQ is pushing down. Insert symbol tick. Notice tick's only positive 390. I mean, people are just, it's the weirdest market I've ever seen. That's all I can say. Maybe not ever, but it's pretty amazing. The tick being so neutral, internals are moderate. Is that an okay word to use? Let's see if I here, I don't need this. I mean, the advancers are at 1500, but the tick, I would expect this to get faded, quite frankly, under any other circumstance. But we're just in a market where they're just like, hey, we're going to do whatever we have to do to, you know, to push lower. That's all there. I mean, to push up. That's all there is to it. Buyers are just in absolute control. There's no indication they want to sell it. It's pretty incredible, really. I don't remember seeing a market where we've have started like this. I don't know what's wrong with the TradeStation. Anyone else having TradeStation issues this morning? Yeah, my TradeStation's failed multiple times here. That's a little distracting to not be able to get TradeStation to work. So ES above Globex high, NQ below Globex high, not quite matching up. We'll see how long that can sustain where they're just totally opposite. But again, ES was very strong all day yesterday, even when NQ was showing any inkling of weakness. We're backside testing yesterday's high right now, closing high on NQ. NQ's, again, remember, it's still positive. And again, I'm letting the first half hour go per normal trading. I don't know what to do about this TradeStation, but I'm going to look. And NQ still getting semi-hammered would be the way I would describe that. See if that did it. NQ into the white zone, guys. By the way, I'm not taking the trade because I'm letting the first half hour go. Again, my biggest concern is the sweep in the first half hour. Right. Also notice, so what's arguing in the favor of the Yedu response is ES is still above Globex high. There are no responsive sellers there yet. or no profit taking, or whatever word you want to use to describe that. Odds are we find responsive buyers out of this white zone. I'm just waiting out my time frame here. Again, you'll see they're just not interested. It's really pretty incredible the move in ES is starting to take. Again, I want to get above my last best seller in NQ and backside test into them. I don't want to deviate because that's consistently paying me my P&L. It's pretty impressive that ES finds no sellers. Advancers are under 1,500 at 1402. Not that that matters much. I'm going to try one more time to bring up this TradeStation account. No, I give up on it for the day. NQ still traveling down. That's a 20-point rotation, 25-point rotation so far. I'm going to have to reboot that computer, and that's just going to take a couple minutes for me to want to do. So that's all right. I'll just wait. Again, keeping focused. You want to get above. This is going to end up being your last best seller, right? Rotation size, has it increased from the prior day, or is it normal? So far, we're within a 25 to 30 point rotation. It's normal. It's not outsized. So far, ES has shown no inclination to go with NQ to the downside, right? That tells you there's a rotation out of NQ, probably into ES, quite frankly. It's not that it can't play catch up to the downside, just no one's decided to sell it yet. And you can see that in the way it's behaving. See how they keep stepping in underneath the bid? So that can change quickly. They'll all go from bid to ask, but it hasn't happened yet. Banks are on open drive higher so far. That's what's holding up, by the way. The S&P 500 is the open drive higher on banks. Sure looks like it on NQ. Like I said, this is my biggest concern and why I wasn't stepping in the first 30 minutes was that I was concerned about profit taking hitting. You know, I'm not saying I called it for a downside rotation. I'm just concerned about my own capital getting crushed on a big rotation lower, right? That white zone's now the resistance. We're at value area low from prior day, right? I mean, wow, the S&P 500, the banks are totally holding that up. It's impressive. No, I'm with you. I'm with you, Ron. I don't feel very bad about not getting long, the one week, the one biggest week of the past year. I think if you had done that all along, you got murdered, right? So I put my how hard I am on myself in balance, right? Because I mean, hell, how often do you get it where it's just 1 second here, a mini S&P 500. Close this chart. Below that white zone, now below 67, 66.75. That's our first key to seeing if we get a push lower, right? So remember, now we want to see if ES responds up with NQ, and you still want to get above your best last seller in this case. So you hope this isn't one bar straight back up, I guess is what I'm saying. It's really hard to trade when the market's so not aligned for me. For me, other people have an easy time with it. For me, it's very hard. They're like, of course it's easy. Just buy the dip. And in this market, it is. And that was also tested Globex low, by the way. obviously. That VWAP is at 6690 from the 24-hour. That's what it has to get above in order to start moving back up. Once again, one of the reasons I don't trade gap fill is it fails quite often, actually. Okay. I'm going to do something I rarely do. I'm going to restart this computer. Restart. Restart anyways. See what happens. And ES is back underneath Globex low. Watch out on NQ side if we get sellers. Again, I'm fine missing the whole downside move if I can get paid on the upside. We're below the first 5-minute low on ES now. I'm rebooting my other computer. See if I can get TradeStation up and running. That's my backup. New low of the day on ES. Looks like the banks finally gave it up. Watch out for it to get slippery, guys. We've been up multiple days in a row in a huge rally, right? They can really be a race to hit the exits in that first hour. Afterwards, we're probably fine. Great. Get bullish, brother. You want to buy the dip. Ron's telling me I'm making him very bullish. I'm not against getting long. I just want to get above my last best seller. And I don't want to get swept in crap like this. If I can get this up and running. Well, I'm going to have to try to fix, as I have a small technical issue and I need my backup. This may be the end of it for me for TradeStation outside of charting. They can't get this right. I don't even know what to say. Again, I would expect the test of this 51 right here to find an attempt at responsive selling. If you want to be aggressive on the short side, your stop is against the swing high. So I'd shoot for 27.50.50 or 27.50 and a quarter for my aggressive traders, guys. And I don't have anything because I'm trying to fix a issue here. And something's wrong here. Let me go to an old one. Bid's pretty thin on ES, right? It's not horrible, but it's getting down there a little bit. Thank you. My imagination is that we hit 60 into this area, looking to get above my last bestseller to get long in this. Wow, people must be having trouble with TradeStation because the download for the new platform or the old platform, I'm actually going back to 9.1, is taking forever. I am on Windows 10. That's correct, Bill. Yeah, let's see if this works. I'm going to an old version. Unable to get above your last bestseller and then Q. What? I can't tell you because my software's down for the second, but I'm pretty sure it's this guy right here. Oh, excuse me, this guy right here. That's your key bogey right there. You got to get above him. I know it's a big bar, but that's what it is. Can't get above it or push back down. I cannot believe how much difficulty I'm having with this right now. This is really pissing me off. Try it again. Same thing in ES, right? This is your last bestseller right here. As soon as I have my software back up and running, I'll tell you, but I'm down at the second. See if I can fix it. I really need a backup running. We're under VWAP on both markets. The only thing holding up ES right now is to be the banks. And again, the lack of news normally would argue for balanced day versus any kind of directional day, but we're in such strange places, right? Unless that directional move is up. That's true. So NQ is negative on the day. ES is up on the day. I don't have, and I'm pretty good just relaxing here for a little bit, seeing what they do. Thank you, Peter. Peter's saying that TLT should find support just below 124, 38, 30 seconds, 124 spot 38 right now. That would limit upside in financials, in his opinion. Again, that's the weakest opening pattern we found and the slowest response to push back up. So at least it's somewhat interesting. And it's been so long since we've had a 10-point rotation down. I don't even know what people would do if we did in ES. There's a backside of that 20, 50, 75 level. Again, your stops against the high of the day. I'm not taking it. Even if I wanted to, I don't have my backup server on, but it's gone right to where I would want to short. Again, we're not out of the first hour yet. I normally wanted to wait till we're out of the first hour to make sure I didn't get caught in any kind of nasty run to the downside, but it's actually setting up short side. The risk is we're above Monday's high still. So there's VWAP. The no fear market. Just a monster move. Trade stations. Pissing me off this morning. If this bar closes, we'll be above our last best seller, guys. This is pushed up every day. We're above VWAP. Can't say that we won't keep going, but damn, there's not a single seller in ES. There just isn't. It's just frustrating as hell that we can't get a 10, even a, what is this, 54 to 49. 5 points is it. I'm just going to have to get better, getting more aggressive. It's just so hard for me to do on 5 or 6 days up in a row to go, yeah, let's get long here. I'm pretty close to being done with TradeStation at this point. This is pretty awful, particularly compared with Sierra charts. Totally frustrated. Right out of the gate. What is the problem here? Well, I got one chart set a system back up and running. Let's see if I can get the other one going. So that's a balanced market, right, guys? We've gone, we broke the low, we've traveled back in, we've traveled back to the top of the range. By the way, the white zone on the Russell paid. I don't know for my Russell traders. I haven't heard many of y'all taking those, but they've been paying pretty consistently. Yesterday being the exception. Ron, do you have a better read, guys? Ralph thinking long above 52.50, which we are. I'm pretty sure at this point I'm going to need to see some kind of actual selling and getting below a key location to trap people. Guys, I've just been doing it for too long to buy into the Kool-Aid. It's personal for me. It has nothing to do with the right setup. I'll keep pointing out. We've gotten above the last best seller at this point. A backside test right here, right? Just like yesterday, I'm not willing to take this stop. This is over 12 points a stop. I'm not willing to take the stop for the long, but we're above the last best seller here. So I'm not willing to take the stop until I can set up a 10 or 12 or 20 point or 30 point NQ trade. I'm not willing to take a 10 or 12 point stop. It's just all it takes is one or two times of those stops, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a hole. So it's going to have to set up properly, both in size, in the size of the stop, and in the trade location, right? So it may take me, I'm just telling y'all, it may take me a little bit to get all the pieces put together correctly so that I can get everything done the right way on NQ. I'm just not willing to put in a 12-point stop when I'm hitting 5-point targets. And this is the 6th or 7th day up. I'm not willing to continue to buy and bet that we're just going to continue to drive higher. I may be wrong. We may be in a market that is so unusual that this is the first time we are ever going to go up for 20 days in a row, all of January, right up into the and I've seen guys suggest that we drive straight up into the president's State of the Union. I think it's the end of January, if I'm correct. I may be wrong on that. And I saw someone suggest that who I actually trust, right? But I know this is the golden rule in January. Do not, under any circumstances, dig yourself a hole. And I will live by that gladly. If I can get the join me to go again. Funny thing, Ron, is you turned out to be right. we go. That's what we're looking like so far. We've just come into VWAP. We're holding above VWAP on ES, right? There's just no sellers. It's frustrating as hell not to have a balanced market. But anyways, I'm clearly pissed off, so I'm going to take 10 minutes to reset. I hate standing here and not having the rhythm of this market down. Really, really agitates the crap out of me. So I don't know why I cannot get into. I clearly know that I want to be long, and I clearly know that it actually is long, right? I'm not confused. I just can't get a handle on where to get my long position. It's really, I mean, it's been 6 days in a row where I've been hunting for longs, and I cannot get positioned to the long side outside of the first 30 minutes of the day, where in my eyes, my maximum risk is. It's really frustrating me. So anyways, I'm going to take a couple minutes, get reset. I'll be back in a second. Guys on YouTube, thank you for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow morning.